In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.
Hi, welcome back to Hungama Game Changers. I'm Raunaq, and it is my pleasure to invite on the show today somebody who has worn many hats in this industry and in her career. She's been an actor, a producer, an entrepreneur, an investor. But most importantly, she's one of India's most respected voices on sustainability. Dia, I'm going to read out some of the things. You have been UNEP Goodwill Ambassador, a UN Secretary General Advocate for Sustainable Development Goals, Ambassador for Wildlife Trust, Artist Ambassador for Save the Children, a board member for Sanctuary, and a global ambassador for the International Fund on Animal Welfare. And I cannot tell you the entire pleasure and privilege it is to have you on the show.
Oh my God. I'm so excited I'm having this conversation with you. Thank you for having me.
No, it's tremendous because I think I've had a lot of people on this show where we talk about making a difference, changing, pushing the glass ceiling. I think what's incredible to me is the concerted seriousness with which you take the responsibility part of your role as much as the creative.
But they're deeply intertwined.
So tell me, before I'm going to go right back to the beginning because bear with me because I have 2-3 questions that will follow. Tell me before the causes, but also before the celebrity and before the acting, who was Divya growing up? What were you like?
I was a kid who had extraordinary exposure to some of the most beautiful minds and a very rich life because it had exposure to arts and culture and music and profound conversations. My parents were always including me and involving me in, theatre festivals and film clubs, and we would have bethuks and poetry recitals. And my father was an artist. My mother was an artist. My adoptive father was also deeply fond of the arts and a huge patron of the arts. So very regularly we would have, these evenings where we would host artists who would come and recite poetry or perform music or dance. And mom would pick me up from school and take me off to this beautiful cultural center called Ravindra Bharati in Hyderabad, where we would go and watch all forms of, art, dance. And mom was also an ardent lover of cinema and especially world cinema. So we would watch a lot of world cinema at Allianz Francaise and Max Miller Bhavan. And my father was an outdoorsy guy. He loved nature. He loved building things. He was an architect and a graphic design artist, but was also a painter, photographer, deep sea diver. So I spent a lot of time building with him, making things with him, and really experiencing the outdoors in a wild, beautiful sort of way. So I think my foundation was creative. It was rich in all of these experiences. Of course, I had a lot of challenges because both my parents, after they separated, first they separated, then they both went on to marry different people. And I lost my biological father when I was only 9. And that was huge because when you're that age, to lose a parent, especially one you're so close to. My father was my hero. He was my everything. And when I lost him, I think it became very evident to me at a very young age that life is finite. And it's a great discovery to make.
It is.
It's a very important one. And a lot of people make it much later in life. But I made that discovery young. So I became very propelled by that realization. I wanted to lead a very meaningful life. I was constantly seeking meaning. And that's what really nurtured my choices. And that's where I come from.
Because I'm trying to understand, does empathy come from experience or is it just something you're born with? Because I've had conversations with you in the past. You've corrected me when I've talked about 7 billion other people, and you've corrected me with 23 because, I'm not including all other life forms when I'm considering the planet. But
Wow, you remember that?
Yes.
I have goosebumps.
and I think it was at the Olive Crown
Yeah.
Awards when you were being felicitated. But and I think that's what I'm trying to sort of, because now as a parent today, as a mother, do you believe empathy comes from experience, or is it something that you can nurture and teach?
I think all beings are capable of empathy, and it's innate to our nature, especially human nature. But it depends on whether we nurture empathy in a human being or we teach them to forget. And when I say teach them to forget, I mean if you give a child too much privilege, entitlement, constant material gratification, a child has no time or space to engage and interact with nature, to watch the movement, the free flowing movement of the earth. You know, how the winds move, how the seas move, how the oceans move, how the rivers move, just everything has a pattern and a movement. If children don't have the opportunity to see that, sense that, and understand that, it would be hard for them to kind of develop any kind of empathy, because empathy doesn't just come from learning to care for a pet at home. Because, of course, you can learn to be kind to your pet and show it love and take it out for a walk even if you don't feel like, right? But empathy is far more profound than that. It is about recognizing that your individual entity is not separate from any other living being.
Yeah.
We are all connected. And I think that connection is formed only with time in nature. Which is why when I speak about playing outdoors or spending time in the open, this is what I mean. I got hours in unstructured free play, in time to just explore. We would be walking for hours, playing, dipping our feet in streams, watching tadpoles swim. You know, there was so much space for curiosity and connection.
Yeah, we grew up
In a very different world.
So my father was in the army, so sometimes in the boondocks.
And what beautiful cantonment areas.
But also you have space for what would be today considered deep boredom.
Yeah.
Because it is only in those moments that you find that it's interesting enough to watch this ant figure out its way back to the line. I agree with you.
And it fuels everything. It fuels your curiosity. It shapes your character. It informs your values.
I also believe it creates the white spaces for creativity.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So tell me, at what point, Dia, did you realize that, you'd done 30, 40 films, you had done shows, you'd produced, all of that. At what point did you realize that your platform can be more than just your career? And at what point did it shift from being something that you'd like to do to this responsibility that you carry for it? Because you're not just the face of the cause. You carry that responsibility with you. You're constantly working on projects and kind of rolling up your sleeves and getting involved.
But the two are inseparable. I always say this. Even before I started off, I was seeking meaning. And I felt very lost when I got caught up in the pursuit of the material. When I was doing 6 films a year and filming 36 hours nonstop and just burning myself to the ground and not really enjoying anything.
Right.
I was just running constantly. I just had no time to breathe. And for the external world, for everybody else, it looked like, oh my God, she's really taken off.
Yeah.
I mean, what a life and what a career. And I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
It empowered me, it gave me agency, it made me financially independent to such a degree that I was able to buy and own my first home at the age of 19. And I realized recently, consciously, that I'm the first woman in my family to own a home.
That is, first of all, I think
How
that's
crazy is
that's a
that?
reality that a lot of women never have in their life, even today.
Even today. And Raunaq, what's even more crazy is that it took me 43 years to consciously, I mean, of course, 19 to, I'm very bad at math. So whatever. From 19 till 43, however, 25 years, 24 years.
20,
Huh.
yeah, 24. Yeah.
Whatever. 24
We're
years.
editing this part out.
24 years. It took me 24 years to consciously recognize what I had done.
What an achievement it was.
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, of course, it always felt great that I had my own home. And, I had this really profound moment when my dad visited me for the first time and he saw his name outside the name like the doorway, and he stood there and he said, "Tu meri beti nahi, mera beta hai."
So
And I
sweet.
was like, oh my God, that's such a beautiful thing. But
Yeah.
then I explained to him, I said, "Abba, इसमें आपकी सोच में प्यार है, आप जो कह गए उसमें प्यार है, लेकिन इसमें पेट्रियार्की भी है." And then I explained it to him and he cracked up and he said, "You're so right." But to cut a long story short, I think very early in my career, especially when I went through a phase where my films weren't working at the box office, there was a lot of attention and criticism, and it wasn't just criticism, it was just a lot of muck in the media. And there was all kinds of stories being peddled, all kinds of lies being peddled as true stories. And it was extremely scary for me. And by then, at 21, around 21, I'd lost my adoptive father as well. He'd passed away while I was in a film set in London.
Oh, no,
And I couldn't even make it for his funeral. And something happened, I realized that I'm getting it all wrong. I need to go back to doing the things that really gave me a sense of being alive and happy. And while I loved being in front of the camera and I loved playing parts, everything else that came with it was not very enjoyable to me. And I went on this safari with a very prominent news channel at the time that was doing these wonderful campaigns, annual campaigns, where celebrities were also engaged in helping raise funds.
I think
and
you're talking about
everything.
NDTV,
Yes,
and they did a
NDTV.
great
I wasn't
job.
sure whether I could
No,
say
that's
NDTV.
all right. But they really have done a great
and
job
they
in
took
creating
me
awareness at that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So they took me into the wild. It was Pench in Madhya Pradesh. It was my homecoming. Everything changed for me. Everything. I felt so connected, so alive, so centered, and so recharged by that experience. And I realized that this was the reminder I needed for everything that I had been taught and I had learned through life.
Okay, you've talked about 2-3 things that I think I'm going to pull at in terms of just pulling at threads. One of the things that you talked about was, this ability to be financially independent to this level at a very young age. And I find a lot of youngsters today are also in a hurry to
Make a lot of money.
Make a lot of money, get to those milestones. Your path was a little different. You did the pageant route. You went on to be Miss Asia World in the year that we hit the hat trick, and then sort of paved your way. Tell me what you would tell yourself then, if you could, knowing what you know now.
I think the one thing I realized much later was that a lot of my decisions and choices were born out of fear.
Fear.
And I think most women inherit fears, all kinds of fears. And I feel like it's an inheritance that we even have, like at a cellular level, at a DNA level. And I think when we make choices out of fear, we make the worst choices for ourselves. If we can just learn to be a little more free from fear, we would be able to make far better choices. And whenever I made fearless choices, it worked. Because I mean, at 23, I stepped away for 2 years. I just stopped working. Who does that?
Yeah.
I just took a sabbatical and I traveled and I worked with wildlife conservation agencies. I walked with forest rangers. I spent time in the wild. I did yoga. I did actor workshops. I did everything that made me feel alive and happy. And so I think the biggest quest for a young person is to kind of be able to be completely fearless and not allow the structures of patriarchy to infiltrate your life at such a level that everything you're doing is out of fear. I'll give you examples. So when I started out, I was told an actress has a shelf life. There are only that many years that you will be wanted. It's a terrifying thing for a young person to be told repeatedly.
And it's a short shelf life,
Yes.
at least 25
Yes.
years back. Short
Yes.
shelf life, yeah.
And then to be told that, you are only desirable if you look a certain way or if you're young enough to be, in demand. So you have to look a certain way, you have to weigh a certain weight, you have a limited time. There are all these pressures. And then to make things worse, you're constantly pitted against each other. Yeah. And this is all a function of patriarchy. It's all been done by a capitalist system that is patriarchal. So it's a combination of the two.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I think it's only in the last 10 or 12 years that so many of us have been able to navigate and understand and really recognize, because we didn't have the language. We didn't have the language to even understand what was being done to us. Today we do, which is why we can make better choices. And I really feel like a big aha moment for me was discovering, oh my God, I can live my life free of fear.
I also think, apart from not having the language, I mean, particularly in, I think, industries that are more entertainment driven, tell me about your female friendships. Because that's hard, I would imagine, in the first few years.
No, I was very fortunate. So when I started out, even before, like while I was training to be a Miss India, I hit it off really well with a lot of my fellow contestants, a few of whom I'm still in touch with. Lara to just took me under her wing. I lived with her when I moved to Bombay in the beginning. And so she was generous, not just with her time and her attention, but also with her home. And then Sushmita Sen was another, senior who was just really, really kind and gave me a lot of love and a sense of like just security, because I came from Hyderabad. I didn't have any family here. Of course, I had Pradeep Guha and his wife, Papya, living here, and who also were very kind. I mean, my gas connection, kahan se lu? Papya would be in the number ki yahan pe gas mil jayega, yahan se phone connection lena hai. And then I luckily had Sajad Bhai, who's still my driver over 26 years. He was like the family I didn't have. Yeah. So I had great allies in some men who were just that. They were just allies. And they kind of just helped me navigate the daily functions of life. Remember, I was only 19 when I moved to a new city, and I wasn't in a university. I had to make my own home and cook my own food and clean my home and get to work, and no big deal, but it can be terrifying.
Also navigate what was the big bad world.
Of course, but mostly the egocentrism, because a lot of people in the film industry are very egotistical.
Yes.
And so one has to really learn to I had to learn how to restrain my ideas or hold back and suspend intelligence. So don't ask the question, because you are not expected to, and nobody is okay with it when the question is asked. in my early career, I didn't work with very many filmmakers who were interested in my intelligence. They'd much rather I abandoned it. And so that was weird.
Was that then the motivation to also add the producer hat?
Much later, when I realized that there's much more. But I think people like, I did a film with Shabana Azmi called Tehzeeb very early in my career. And that for me was a great eye-opener, because I realized when I spent time with her that 1 second, she has a flourishing career at this age, whatever age this is. She's playing these incredible parts. Cinema, storytelling may not have great stories for women in their more mature ages of their life, but those roles exist, and hopefully we will all work together and create many more such paths. But if you're really good and you're undeniably good at what you do, nobody can determine when you stop. You decide when you want to stop, if you so should or would like to, because there are lots of actresses who were at the top of their game who stepped back when they became mothers and they felt like they didn't want to continue working. And then there were women who continued working despite being mothers and had prolific careers. So I think it was just about finding the right role models and kind of identifying their truths and their lived realities, and understanding that, oh, okay, so this is how it goes, and maybe this is what can teach me to do a little better. So Shabana Azmi actually helped me really understand how I could continue to pursue meaning and do things that I deeply cared about and still be constantly learning and growing.
And still do it with the platform of what was commercial cinema.
Yeah.
What does so much fame do to a young woman? Is it terrifying? Is it exhilarating? Is it all of the above?
It's exciting because, we became household names overnight. It was extraordinary, but it was also dichotomous in many ways, because, we'd get all these expensive gifts and this really fancy champagne, and I didn't drink. And we would come back home and not have enough cash to kind of eat food. So we would eat noodles. So it was interesting to kind of balance that as well.
See that, that on the one side, and then the sort of harsh realities of actually being this female.
But I recently said to my manager, I was watching some stuff that was happening in the media with some really big stars, and I said to her actually, I said, I'm so grateful that I've never achieved that level of stardom. I wouldn't want it, because it comes at this ridiculous price where it's free for all. Anybody can say anything about you and get away with it, and it's just rogue. It's horrible. I wouldn't want to be there.
While that's true for both genders, do you think women get it much worse?
Of course.
Everybody has an opinion
on everything.
Everything. What you wear, why you're too thin, why you've gained weight, why is your hair straight, why is your hair wavy?
Why don't you have more than one child? When did you get married? Why did you get married? Everything. They have a comment on everything.
Are you able to shut out the noise? In a world that's so social.
You have to.
Are you able to just shut it off, both the good and bad, or is it something that you do go into, see the comments? Sometimes there's pain, sometimes there's joy, and then you're able to sort of walk on, or have you learned
with me, it's been interesting because firstly, I think for the most part, real people and not bots, right? Real people have always been kind to me, because I think people are very smart. They can tell a person's intention, right? And I feel like my intentions are transparent.
Oh, I think authenticity is
from a
something
mile
that works.
where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And when most of your choices and most of your words and most of what you're saying and doing come from a place of love, then how badly can a person respond to that, right? Unless there is political motivation and there is an agenda that goes beyond what you're saying. It's about, paid social media bots, or some IT cell attack, because dissent is not welcomed anymore at all.
As you found out for projects that you have, I know.
I have found out more than once,
Yeah.
right? In all kinds of circumstance. I have been evacuated from a city in the middle of the night by the police force because of something I said out of compassion and humanity. I have been attacked online several times, but most of those attacks have been politically motivated. And that's all right, because I think, Raunaq, there's one thing that we all have to learn to do more of, which is speak up when something is not right. We can't keep silent. Like, I just feel so bad that so few of us in the film industry speak up.
Yeah, in fact, it's something that I feel every time you, and I feel
And
like we are
suppressed
more than I find in some other. I do think that it's sort of everybody's becoming so much more careful about what they're saying because it's going to be examined and over-examined by every single person. But I do feel like, over here you have a lot of people that will come over here and say, oh no, I've never had like it. This is supposed to be a comfortable, safe conversation, But I find so many people still feel the pressure to say, no, I've always had a great working experience, because they're still in the corporate path, or they're still in that space where they don't really want to
reveal the truth
or cause too many ripples.
No, but I think it's extremely important because we're living in a very fast changing world, and there are extraordinary transformations taking place. And while we're making great strides towards certain things, we're also going back on a lot of things. Women's lived experiences are more challenging today than they were 50 years ago in many parts. And while we may have overcome sati, there are many other things we're still to overcome. And I think while there is just such a, I know that people in America right now can't use the words climate change and can't use the words gender equality. It's like a mandate. But why? What about the rest of us? We are a large part of the human population. Why should 4% of the world's population decide and what we should be focusing on or what we shouldn't be focusing on?
I also think in terms of, and I think it comes from, very high political decisions that are made, but also then, key stakeholders and people that would like to preserve the status quo in industries as well. I do think that, I think the pay gap that continues to be perpetuated in entertainment globally.
All industries, actually.
Yeah, all industries. Although I just read a news report saying today that Iceland has made it illegal for there to be a pay gap. Now somebody needs to, but you have to go to court, I guess, to prove it. But it's Iceland.
So these guys are doing
1.7 billion.
Right? Iceland, Norway, Netherlands. They're making these amazing decisions that we all wish we could follow. But okay, we'll get there someday.
Okay, tell me, you're a ambassador for sustainability. You're doing all of these things. What worries you the most today? Is it the conspicuous consumption and fast fashion? Is it the fact that we continue to be so dependent on fossil fuels with a sort of disregard to even the pricing that's now happening? What worries you the most?
What worries me the most is that climate action still remains a distant priority for most people. That's what worries me more than anything else. Because if everyone lived their lives with the sense of urgency that we should have in fixing and addressing the problem that we've created, and I'm not saying that every Indian is responsible for the climate crisis. Certainly not. But those with privilege can make a difference and need to make a difference. So I think the one thing that worries me the most is that we are just so removed from the urgency of the crisis, and that we're so unwilling to really act on climate on a daily basis. And I feel it to a level of daily exasperation with government, and down to municipal wards and municipal bodies, because wherever a bureaucrat has decided to drive change, it has happened.
Yeah.
It has happened. Rivers have cleaned up, lakes have cleaned up, waste management systems have been implemented. There extraordinary biodiversity has come back, and we have examples of civil society organizations working with bureaucracy together, making that change. But it's so few and far between, and it can so easily become something that more people do. Like over the last 6 years, every year, pre-monsoon, there's something called tree trimming that happens in our city. And we have something called a tree authority. We have a handbook that gives you guidelines on how our trees, our avenue trees and our,
Right.
trees in public spaces need to be trimmed. But it's not followed. And year after year, I'm documenting, sharing the information with the ward officer, with the commissioner, with the BMC, engaging with them, saying, we'll give you time, we'll get arborists down. Until last year, India had only one arborist.
Really?
Only one. Now we have 15.
And
But
what are they doing
that's
wrong?
frustrating. I think what's happened is that our conscience has been corrupted. People are so focused on making money that we are refusing to see the price that money is going to make all of us pay. And we are, right?
Yeah.
We are burning. I mean, India was the hottest country on the planet this year.
This year, yes.
I mean, we've had unprecedented surface temperatures. We've got incredible documentation of how surface temperature reduces dramatically when there is proper tree cover.
Yeah.
But it's look at it. Look around you. Look at what's happening
Also
across the
trees,
country.
I know that
We're losing trees. People are cutting down trees like it's perfectly okay. And when people who care for conservation and sustainability and environment or wildlife speak up, if in 2026 they're still perceived to be obstructionists,
yeah,
then there is a problem in the way we're thinking. Because people who care for all of this aren't obstructionists. They're actually thinking about everyone.
Yeah, not just, their own children, but also...
or their own bank balance.
Yeah. Okay. On the flip side, what gives you hope?
A very dear friend of mine who's an extraordinary filmmaker and journalist, environmental journalist, Swati Tyagarajan, describes hope as a verb. And I can't agree more. I think hope is in acting. It's in the action. It's in the choices we make actively every day.
Actually doing.
Yes. If I didn't do many of the things that I do every day, I'd be totally disillusioned and lost. And my children give me hope.
Yeah.
They give me a lot of hope. My kid, the other day we were driving back from school and he saw the entire canopy of the tree being hacked. The whole thing. It was just reduced to, the central trunk, and then just sprigs of branches left. All of the branches and the leaf cover was taken off.
Yeah.
So he's seeing this, and he starts noticing it from a distance, and as we get closer, he's watching. And for the first time, I saw him very angry. And he said, "Why are these people so stupid?" And he's 5 years old. Why are they cutting the whole tree? So I that gives me hope, because I realize that if at 5 he can understand something so basic, then he'll be okay.
On the other hand, I also, I think as social influencing these, life has also become, a post, right? So this is my best life and my best moment of this day. But I find that the pressures that one only perceived with people in the public eye are now pressures that I see in a lot of youngsters who are, I'm a fashion influencer or a lifestyle influencers, and now these are in hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, but Raunaq,
And there's a lot of so the pressure to, sorry, I'm going to finish this. The
Yes, please.
pressure to constantly shop and have that look and that look and that look. And I think one of my greatest anxieties is fast fashion, because
naturally.
I mean, it's,
But the thing is that on the flip side, we have so many people recognizing the virtue and the value of textile, handcraft, hand weave, artisan-led initiatives. There's so many Indian designers now who are doing right by people and the planet, and are asking the right questions. And it can also be frustrating, because there's a lot of people who use sustainability as a catchphrase and they're greenwashing. But there are lots of good people doing a lot of good work. And I feel like even in the social media space, there are so many extraordinary examples of individuals who are really reinventing the wheel. So I was talking to another environmentalist friend of mine, and I was saying, we just have to make our lives look so fun and so good that everyone aspires for it, because there is a place of pride and joy in repeating what you've worn already. Yeah. There's a place of pride and joy in knowing the story of where something has come from.
Who made my clothes?
And who made your clothes, and where your clothes were grown. And, so there's that life journey of everything. It's not just our clothes, it's our food, it's our furniture, it's the materials and the resources we use to build our homes. It's everything. So that fundamental question of where is this coming from and where is it going to go should be guiding all of our choices. And yes, the only way. So what is sustainability? It is essentially saying that the earth is finite and the resources of the earth are finite, and human consumption post-industrial era, including farming, is consuming much more and wasting much more than we need, and there is only that much that the earth has. So what we're doing, our consumption right now, is unsustainable. So the way to be sustainable is to consume less and waste less. That's the fundamental idea of being sustainable. Yeah,
I think the reuse, recycle, reduce kind of thing. I think it's the recycle that everybody thinks that if I've checked that box, I'm sort of doing my part for sustainability. I don't know how much of the reduce and...
But that's the pressure which is unfair on people, right? And that's why I always feel that everything eventually boils down to policy and how effectively policy is implemented. If you look to the Netherlands, or you look at, any of these Scandinavian countries that we're talking about, whether it is in the space of climate action or clean energy transitions or education or gender equity, all of these goals are being met because, of course, they have a more contained population, which is educated. So therefore, they're able to make better choices. But it starts with intention.
Also, I
And-
think they see it.
Yes.
Every day they see
Yes.
that Black Christmas.
Yes. And also I feel like if countries like India and China and Russia and Africa are really, in a place where we can show the rest of the world how it's done. We really can, because we have the smartest people, we are great innovators, but we also have these extraordinary ancestral roots and connections.
We have a
with the
cultural
earth.
connection actually
Exactly.
to...
It's in our music, it's in our craft, it's in our art, it's in our language, it's in our design, it's in our food. We know it all. We just have to go back to where we're coming from, and be less influenced by the Western idea of progress and development, which is what has, caused the disruptions that we're experiencing in the world, and create our own. So, I mean, the people who are saying, let's not pursue a GDP, but let's pursue a GEP, which is a gross environmental produce.
That's
Probably
yes.
are a lot more coherent and a lot more understanding of the lived realities of a climate crisis, biodiversity loss, and pollution, which is...
I think that's a really well said statement, because I do think that, I feel like in a lot of ways India is having its moment.
Oh, yeah.
And I think if there's ever a time to celebrate that which is culturally inherently us, it is now, and it's sustainable.
Yes. And have you seen these amazing movements of working women going back to the saris?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, just incredible mothers who are teaching their children how to live more sustainably, or managing waste, or doing regenerative farming on their rooftops,
Yeah.
or in the hills. There are these extraordinary stories of families who are doing who've bought hundreds of acres of barren land. They're planting forests, doing regenerative farming, and building communities of resilience and hope. It's
I think
amazing.
there are people who are like, I know somebody in realty who bought this land. He's done this. He's basically said,
When I do this, you'll come live with me, na?
100% lived, basically sort of, done plots, and he says, we'll do the farming for you.
Yeah.
You tell us how much you want to do. Whatever we make out of that will come back to you, and then you could also go and stay there when you want or whatever. I have another friend who, her dish when she comes over is a standard salad, because she grows it on her terrace.
Yeah.
And it comes straight from the thing, and she loves working with soil, for example.
How lovely.
Yeah, I think it's just such a small thing to live in a big city, in your big city, chaotic list of to-dos, and then to say, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to go play in the mud.
Yeah. But Raunaq, going back to the point I was making earlier, it's unfair for governments to expect people to change behaviors overnight.
Yeah.
It's a long process. It takes time. When we're dealing with this critical window of keeping the temperature rise within 1.5, now of course we've crossed 1.5, but less than 2 degrees, and with 2 degrees we're seeing the catastrophic results of it, right? So then it becomes even more incumbent on people with power and influence and money, which is industries, industry leaders, and governments, to act on climate a lot more and do much more than they are right now. Because you can't expect young people to not have aspirations.
No,
you cannot
especially
expect
when
young
you
people
step out
to
of-
abandon their idea of comfort, which they've been, taught repeatedly that this is comfort, this
They've
is like
aspired
luxury.
for it. Dia.
Absolutely.
When you go...
And they're working so hard for it. How can you say you can't have it?
Yeah. No, when you go into outside of the big cities and you see the rate of development and modernization, and from a big city point of view, it's like, it doesn't look the same. And in my head, I keep thinking, because I go back and forth quite a bit, that they've been waiting to be able to live like this for a really long time. They always had that, it's in Allahabad or in Patna or whatever. I'm not I can't do this or I don't have access to this. I'll go shopping when I go to Delhi. Now they don't have to. But
But the work really is to help more and more people discover and recognize that life is full, it's meaningful and beautiful when we have access to the fundamentals, which is clean air to breathe, access to clean water to drink and, nourish ourselves, and food. Otherwise, it was, roti, kapda, makan. All of that is secondary.
Yeah.
When you don't have access to the basics, which is the first three, then everything else becomes, should go down in the priority list.
Tell me, it's easier to talk the talk than to walk the walk, and I see you walking the walk. What are the 3-4 things that just for young women getting into the industry, young women who have created small networks, platforms of their own, what are the 3 things that you think they can start changing about their narrative? Not their lives, but just their narratives to begin with, that can start maybe sort of shifting the needle in its own way?
So the women that I find most appealing, who I'm drawn to and inspired by, are usually women who have, who are really grounded in reality, who know what's happening in the world, who are not living an escapist life and who are not living in an illusion of their own making. Because it can happen, right? You can get so caught up in the appearance and in the material that you forget to really interact with reality. And I think that's essential. And it's extremely attractive because it defines your authenticity. It helps you know what is it that you truly want to, what stories you really want to tell. And that's the game changer. That's what defines everything, because that's what will define the choices you make, the kind of paths you take, or what kind of positions you take in life. I think the second thing is, if you're an actor, you'll be waiting a lot. So find other passions, other pursuits, find other things that qualitatively engage you and make you feel alive and happy, because the waiting can get very, very frustrating.
Even from a mental health perspective.
From every perspective.
Yeah.
From every perspective. And the third thing that I would tell young and aspiring actors, filmmakers, would be, please do slow travel through India. Meet real people. Discover their stories. Just strike a conversation with people, with strangers, on the train, in the bus, on the road, in the field. Because that will enrich you in ways that nothing else can. Because people are beautiful and there are such remarkable stories. Like, we do this thing at home where whenever we hire new house help, when she's comfortable, obviously you're not going to attack her with this day or day 2, but when she's kind of settled into the home and she's become comfortable with the family, we sit down and we share our life stories with each other. And this is something that I learned in acting workshops, because when you're working with a new team, the best way to kind of break ego is to share your life story, because it helps people not just connect with each other, but they kind of identify with their sorrows, their losses, their achievements, everything. So there's the play of ego diminishes drastically in that kind of a environment. So crew members, so cast and crew kind of do this. It's called the circle of life. It's a sharing experience. I know a lot of people in the corporate world have also started doing this. It's a beautiful thing to do. So we do it with house help. And Raunaq, the stories. Yeah. Oh my God.
The resilience also.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's crazy.
Yeah. Tell me, how has motherhood impacted what was already a sense of urgency that you had towards the sustainable goals that you work with? Because I think that's when you realize how borrowed it is, right?
Yeah. It was always urgent. I think it just became even more urgent. But I've also realized that I need to step back a little bit on some days. And when I see myself spiraling, and it's very, very, very common for people who do the work that I do to experience extraordinary levels of anxiety and stress. Because I'm receiving phone calls and emails and videos
About something that is deeply important to you.
It's debilitating.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing people struggle, you're seeing people die, you're seeing animals die. It's horrific. I'm learning to continue doing the work that I do without allowing it to become debilitating for me. I need to, if I feel like I'm not able to, I'm struggling, it's getting too noisy, I step away. I take my time to reset, to kind of just assess my own situation and then go back.
See inside.
Yeah, and then go back. But going away into nature really helps me because that's the greatest reset. And being with my kids helps a lot too.
Well, one of the things that we ask everybody who comes here to do is to recommend...
Sing a song.
No. But have at it.
No.
No, now you opened it up. Is to actually recommend to people, two women they think are doing an outstanding job who will make it directly to our shortlist for next year.
Oh my God.
And you can think about this and send me a message or an email so that
really
you can
want to think
about people
it.
You think, and it could be
from any industry or from
entertainment.
Entertainment.
So it could be film, they could be content creators, cultural trend makers, producers, anybody in video, music, gaming. So that's the broad categories, because we think some of these stories should be kind of told, because I think more people need to hear the incredible things they're doing. It could be just somebody that you follow because they're an incredible content creator making a difference.
Yeah.
In that sense.
I've just thought of someone. Maybe you've already given her an award. I don't know.
No, I don't. Please go ahead. Tell us.
There's this extraordinary young mother called Sonika Bhasin.
No, we haven't.
She's on Instagram.
Yes.
You awarded her?
No, but I'm aware.
Is she in the
convention?
Not. Please. She is just amazing. And she has a full life. She's a working mother. She's got as many responsibilities as any working mother has. And only women will get this.
Yes.
But she still makes the time to make a difference every day in the most simple everyday choices. And we need so many millions more like her. So yeah,
so we need millions of Sonikas.
To put the spotlight on Sonika.
That's excellent. One of the things that I think you carry that I don't always see with a lot of women who are professional, wearing all the hats, right? The mom, the working mom. In your case, you've added a whole aspect of service. Is this sense of calm. And it comes through. And so and you're telling me that there are days that it does sort of become too much. But how do you carry this sense of calm? Because, like you said, a lot of the hats you're wearing are high stress. Mm-hmm. So how do you think you are able to, because And this is constant. You could have I could have a conversation with you at a party, at a intimate dinner. You're in that moment. You're talking to me. You're
Yeah.
not thinking about something else.
Meditation.
You do
Yeah.
meditate.
I think practicing meditation really centers you. But also just kind of being a little bit disciplined with yourself. So not doing multiple things at a time. And while there's a lot of, people ascribe a lot of weight to that, I don't think it's a pretty life situation to be in.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to do one thing at a time. So if I'm in conversation with you, I'm here with you.
Yeah.
All of my being is with you. I'm
Correct.
present. So that present moment awareness is something you have to teach yourself, especially in today's world when
Yes.
there's so much digital distraction. We're also kind of perceiving so much more than we did 20 years ago. So
And I
it's
think also
harder
we
now
are
than
so
ever before.
Conscious of how we are being perceived, and I feel like this
Hey,
generation has
I'm very terrified. I'm very terrified for a lot of people. Like, when we go out to a restaurant to eat or we go out and we see how people are behaving, they're always on their phones. They're always checking stories. They're always taking pictures. They're always posting. There's no time to be in the moment and appreciate the joy of that moment. Couples, who are not really talking to each other. Their heads are down, they're on their phones. Meal arrives.
but
they're
they will
eating.
but they will
Like,
post
they'll-
the one picture.
Yeah, and like so then through that meal they may exchange a few sentences, but they're busy.
Yeah.
Everybody's busy. So I think it's terrifying because I feel human beings are, we're community driven. We need connections. That's what makes us feel healthy and alive and happy.
Man is a social animal.
Yes,
It was one of the first few things we
Of
were taught
course,
in
right?
primary school.
Yes, and
Yeah.
so being a social animal doesn't mean be on social media. So I feel like we all need to kind of untrap ourselves a little bit from
Digital
it.
detox.
Yes.
I know people do go on a digital detox. I just think that, we do need to,
Parents are struggling, Raunaq, with their teens. I know how hard it is for us to get our teenage daughter off her phone. It's
I
really
think
a
it's
struggle.
also, I have to say, looking at it, I mean, my daughter's now past the teens, so we're getting the pre-adolescent normalcy back. But I do feel that we were lucky we didn't grow up in this generation of constantly being evaluated.
Yeah.
That was it was very freeing. You could put on whatever you wanted, as even if it was what you wore day before, and
I
go to
loved
college,
the
and it didn't
most
matter.
That's what I loved also the most about the city.
Yeah,
Nobody judged you.
yeah.
Like, you were so free to just be. I remember sitting at just around the corner reading a book, no makeup, nothing, just
Yeah.
jeans, a t-shirt. And then people from Delhi would be like, "You go out like that?" I was like, "Yeah, I go out like that."
Yeah. No. I mean, for me, one of my key definers of the city of Bombay was, I think I must have been 16, 17. We were at Tiffin.
Yeah.
And Salman Khan was there, I think, at the time with Sangeeta. And they were sitting over there in normal
Yeah.
clothes. They were at the same type of
Yeah.
clothes. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. They were wearing
Yeah.
jeans and a t-shirt. Nobody hassled
Yeah.
them. Nobody bothered them. There was no makeup, nothing,
No
no
drama.
security. Nobody got into their car and left.
Yeah.
And for me, that was such a definition of
time
what
before
Bombay
Paps
was.
also, Raunaq.
Right. It was, nobody bothered.
Yeah.
Nobody went and asked for an autograph or whatever.
Now
but-
they'll show up at the hospital also
yeah.
to get a
For-
picture.
That is true.
It's very
And
sad.
so I really feel that I think we have lost some part of that.
But it's media, right?
It is.
It is that culture.
No, and you
of,
can't, it's not like you can put the genie back in the bottle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
but
out.
But let me tell you that our paps are far more civilized than the paparazzi in many other parts of the world.
Yes.
They really are. Like, I remember earlier when Abhiyan was younger and I didn't want him to be photographed, you gently, respectfully ask for something. they totally respond to it.
No.
Totally.
Point actually, what I was making was not just about the apps. It was just about the fact that everybody has a camera in their hand.
Yeah.
So
That's
life is
changed
no longer,
everything. But it's very interesting.
Is public.
The younger generation, so now kids who are 15, 16, they don't want to be photographed as much as the generation before them.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
I think what's really nice that we're seeing now is, and we're even seeing this with a lot of founders, authenticity is becoming one of the most important values you can carry as a founder, as an influencer, as an actor. And I think that's nice because people really do want to say that this is not what anybody looks like when they wake up. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good trend that we're kind of seeing up the other end of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to thank you so much for your time. And I know I've gone past a little bit of the time that we had. It's been lovely having a conversation with you. And more importantly, I think it's lovely having you have the conversations you keep having for us. Thank you so much, Dia.
It was my pleasure.
Hi, this is Raunaq. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Hungama Game Changers. We'll see you next week.
In conversation with some fascinating ladies who've changed the game in the world of video, music, and gaming. Only on Hungama's Women Game Changers podcast.